If you think about it, it's quite remarkable that every great mankind achievement was done by a team. It was never one person job. If you look at examples, space travel and putting the first person on the moon, mastering flights and enjoying the travel that comes with it, or creating beautiful movies and music. It's always a team effort. And why is it that when we need it the most, this notion, it goes out of the window soonest? Because if you are having a burnout or you are close to having a burnout, you need help. If you are someone that sees someone in their environment struggling and experiencing symptoms that are related to a burnout, you want to help them. So why is it that supply and demand not marry up and actually make sense? So before I go into that, let me replay again tip number 3, how to get a burnout faster. In the video, I will take 2 angles. One, from the perspective of the person that is having a burnout or is close to having a burnout. And second, what you can do when you see somebody in your surroundings that is suffering from the symptoms and that could indicate a burnout. But first, for you and those that are having a burnout or are close to a burnout, and when it comes to accepting or even asking for help, let me dive deeper into that particular subject. Imagine that you would have a broken arm or a broken leg. Would you ask for help to the people around you? If you are just a tiny bit like I am, you wouldn't. I would have been so stubborn that even if I could not lift a finger, I would try to do it myself. Why do I bring this up? I'm not saying when you're having a burnout or when you're close to a burnout, you're broken, but for sure we can acknowledge that we need help and that we find it difficult to ask for help or accept any help for various reasons. Myself, I'm super stubborn. I think I can handle it and I want to be able to manage all by myself. I don't want to be dependent on other people. I have an enormous drive to fix every problem I created or when I land into it, because I don't want to be a victim. However, what I'm doing if I'm rejecting help or not asking for help is making it even harder for myself, but also for the people around me. I think we're all blessed with the fact that we have a lot of people that surround us and they want to help. But every time we push them away or we reject help, we're not having them help us, which is just something they want to do. So if you feel vulnerable or stubborn or actually so strong that you want to do everything yourself, first understand that by rejecting or pushing back on help, you're also pushing back on those people around you that care and love you. That doesn't mean it's easy. So let's assume in this metaphor where you have a broken arm or broken leg, and somebody wants to help you and you feel this innate resistance to accept it. Stand still and ask yourself why. What do you win? What do you gain by pushing back on help that's being offered to you? And effectively, when you do that, you really take a moment to pause. I'm almost certain there is no logical reason for not accepting the help. It's just either ego or an emotional burden that you need to cross before you can actually let it go. And again, so somebody comes to you and offers you help, either in a physical situation like a broken arm or broken leg, or a mental situation like running close to a burnout. I get it that you reject the help, But pause, take a second, reflect. Why am I not accepting this? What makes me pushing back on the good intentions people have me? Second, when you are accepting help, it doesn't mean that the person that is about to help you will know everything they need to be doing. Sometimes when I coach people and they told me that they were indeed accepting help, but then it backfired because what that person gave them was not what they needed. And again, probably for the right intentions, but it doesn't is always helpful. Later in the video, I will explain what people can do to properly help people that are having a burnout or are close to a burnout. But for you, in your situation where you now start to accept help, you need to be clear on what you want. When you have a broken arm, broken leg, and you need to shower, it's pretty obvious what you need, and the people around you can help you with that. But in this situation, it's invisible for those that are around you. You cannot expect them to understand what you need and how you need it unless they have been in the situation themselves. And even then it's difficult. I had 2 burnouts, almost a third. But when I talk to people, I cannot assume that I know what they want. I still need to be super clear and asking a lot of questions so I can meet them where they want me to be. So for you, when you're finally in the mode of embracing the help that's being offered, be clear on what you want and also be clear on what you don't want. I think we all can agree that we don't need solutions because we can find the solutions. We can go on internet and there are a ton of resources we can actually tap into. But probably what you need is somebody that listens and really dives into your story without assuming too much. And deep listening is a lost art. People are pretty much superficial when it comes to listening and they only want to hear what they think they want to hear. But if you find that person that is actually good at letting go their own frame of mind and tapping into your story, that's going to be a big help. Because when you run into the situation of a burnout, just talking it through and diving through the story and what happened and what you need to change will actually help you find the solutions and right behaviors to cope with it, get out of it, and avoid it for the rest of your life. So the second part, imagine you have somebody in your environment that is struggling and you see clearly the symptoms of burnout. What do? Well, obviously you want to help. But what is the best way to help? I brought up this metaphor of a broken arm and broken leg. If you would have a friend or a family member with a broken arm, you would know exactly what to do, how to help them. Opening a door or offer some comfort when they're sitting in a chair, you would know exactly what to do to help them. But in a case of a burnout or an approaching burnout, you don't know what they need. And you don't know exactly what was going on. And you might assume that they're running into a burnout, which could be the case or could not be the case. What I've seen a number of times when I approach people that are close to having a burnout and I offer help, their first reaction is to say that everything is fine. Let's not forget, saying that you are experiencing a burnout is still something that's pretty loaded in the workplace. For different reasons, people think they might be seen as vulnerable or weak or whatever, but that's of course not the case. So many people struggle with the symptoms or from having a burnout or are close to having a burnout. The numbers are there and the studies as well. But it doesn't mean that you, as somebody who wants to offer help, that it stops right there. So you offer help, somebody tells you, no, I'm fine, I'm doing great. And then does your responsibility end? No, of course not. Same with a broken arm or broken leg. You could find ways to help that person. So if you're close to what they're doing in terms of work, try to unload them. Don't give them specific tasks. Make sure you do some tasks for them. But if you're not close to what they're doing at work, but it's a friend and you see them struggling, why don't you offer them some time to go for a coffee or a tea or whatever and listen to them? Don't be judgmental. Don't bring your own frame of thoughts. Just ask very specific questions and have them tell you what they're going through. I guarantee if they really are struggling or having close to a burnout, they will be more at ease in such a situation and then give you probably more hints what's really going on. And again, if it's close to a burnout, then dive deeper into the subject. So if somebody tells you, hey, I'm doing fine, I'm good, you could ask a question, what makes it so good? Let them explain. Follow-up question. But of course, not everything is great. What is the one thing you would like to change? And they will give you an answer. And you're gonna follow up on that. Or ask a question, if you had to give 100% of your time and you need to divide it between work, life, and you as a human being, an individual, tell me how you would cut up the 100% of time, effort, and attention. Hopefully it's roughly 1/3 each. But if you see that a lot of time actually goes into the work, you could ask questions what they're going to do to change that and actually focus more on them as a human being, as an individual, and not per se the work or life. Why? If people are not investing in themselves, it's actually also burning out at the long term. So if the answer is not 1/3 or close to 1/3, it means they're burning resources on life or work and not on themselves. And such a question and such a way of conducting, I would say, almost an interview, is less intrusive. Because whatever the answer, it's okay. Compare this approach to the one where you would go in and say, hey, I see that you're working many hours, you're working late, you look a bit tired, are you having a burnout? It's so confrontational, and I never ever have seen that work. But again, if you flip it around and just ask how they're doing, what's working well, what isn't working well, where they spend their time on, and ideally a question like, where do you want to spend your time on, or where do you need to spend your time on, and what are you going to change in order to get there, is a far more coaching and mentoring approach where, again, you don't take any stance, you're really listening, and you meet them where they are and what they need. Is it easy? No, of course not. We all bring our own prejudices to the meeting. We all listen to a certain level and really don't go deep. Sometimes with my team, I use this sentence. So I'm gonna give you a short sentence, and I want you to have an image in your mind. And the sentence is, the surgeon performed surgery on the leg. Super simple. But what do you see in your mind's eye? Is a surgeon female or male? Performing surgery, is that right here, right now? And on the leg, is that their own leg or somebody else's leg? There's no right or wrong, but the notion here is that by giving you just one sentence, you create an image in your mind's eye. And with that image, you keep on listening to the story. And it's super difficult, but important that you let go of that image you just created and ask questions. In this case, is a surgeon a female or a male? The surgeon, what is he or she doing? And is it to their own leg or somebody else's leg? It sounds so simple and plain obvious, but unfortunately I see it going wrong a lot for those that want to help. Lastly, if you want to help, don't come with solutions if you first and foremost don't understand the situation that the person that is in need of help is in. What I mean by that, when I was in a burnout, I clearly knew what I needed to be doing. I could find it all on the internet. And the last thing I needed was a friend or a family member telling me again what I already knew. It made me feel disrespected and not valued, that I was not even capable of finding the solution myself. Everybody that's in a situation, they probably know what they need to be doing, but actually the doing, the effect of putting it into motion, is what they need help with. And it starts with listening and understanding. So don't start offering solutions. Don't start sharing your strategies, for it's rarely the right strategy. So with that, I love for you to help others that need in their situation where they're having a burnout or are close to a burnout. And for those of you that are experiencing those symptoms, please, please, please do what you need most. That is accepting the help from those that are around you. Look after yourself and look after each other.